Hello, everyone. I'm Kenshin. Welcome to Talking History. Please take a moment to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Also, don't forget to turn on the notification bell. Thank you. Today's historical discussion is the most unforgettable history of Poland, Auschwitz concentration camp. Amid Russia's aggression against Ukraine, there was a piece of news in 2022 that many people overlooked but was significant enough to change the situation in Europe. During an interview with the German Sunday Welt, Poland's Deputy Prime Minister and Chairman of the National Security and Defense Committee, Jarosław Kaczyński, stated that Poland was ready to deploy US nuclear weapons within its borders. If the Americans request the deployment of US nuclear weapons in Poland, we would be willing. It would significantly enhance the containment of Russia, he said. However, he also noted that the US had not yet made such a request, but the situation may change soon, emphasizing that such a request must first come from the US. Why would Poland, a member of NATO, bring up this issue? Qianxin believes it is related to the most unforgettable and widely known history of Auschwitz concentration camp. So, let's delve into this terrifying history today. During World War II, 6 million Polish people were killed, half of whom were Jews, meaning 1/5 of the Polish population died in the war, including 90% of Polish Jews. Firstly, we must mention Heinrich Himmler, the second-in-command of Nazi Germany and the terrifying head of the SS, who implemented a systematic plan for the extermination of European Jews, which Adolf Hitler referred to as the final solution to the Jewish question, Endlösung der Judenfrage. In July 1941, it was formally proposed by German Luftwaffe commander Hermann Göring, but whether it would involve deportation or execution by judgment was uncertain. At the Wannsee Conference in January 1942, a decision was made to systematically massacre Jews, thoroughly cleansing Europe of its Jewish population by sending them all to the eastern occupied territories to be annihilated through heavy labor, with survivors being executed. The aim was the complete extermination of the Jewish people. During this process, the majority of Jews from countries like Poland, Hungary, Greece, and Yugoslavia were killed in gas chambers. In April 1940, Himmler ordered the conversion of military camps into concentration camps, and the Nazi officer in charge of implementing this order at Auschwitz was 39-year-old Rudolf Höss, who had previous experience managing the Dachau and Sachsenhausen concentration camps. When he received the order, his mandate was to exterminate the Jews as efficiently as possible. Auschwitz was the largest of over 1,000 concentration camps established by the Germans, located near Kraków, Poland. It consisted of 3 main sections: Auschwitz I, Auschwitz II-Birkenau, and Auschwitz III Monowitz. At the entrance to the camp hung a sign that read, Arbeit macht frei, meaning, work sets you free, but in reality, it was quite the opposite. Labor became another form of the policy of genocide, referred to by the Nazis as extermination through labor. While forced laborers could escape immediate execution, they were stripped of all individual identity. Besides having their hair shaved off and being tattooed with registration numbers on their left forearms, men were forced to wear tattered striped trousers and jackets, while women wore work clothes. These victims wore ill-fitting shoes, even wooden clogs, and often had no change of clothes, sleeping only in their work clothes. Living conditions were extremely harsh, with prisoners struggling for survival every day in unbearable conditions. They lived in rudimentary cells without windows, unable to withstand extreme weather conditions. There were no showers, only a bucket of water. Each cell had about 36 wooden bunk beds, with 5 or 6 prisoners crowded onto one bed. A single cell could hold up to 500 prisoners, painting a picture of the horrendous living environment, perhaps comparable to the isolation pods in Gulag camps. As for food, hunger was a constant condition. They received only thin soup made from rotten vegetables and meat, a small piece of bread, a little margarine, tea, or a bitter coffee-like drink. Diarrhea was common in the camp, and dehydration and starvation made many weak, susceptible to infections, and even death from the spread of infectious diseases. The Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp storage warehouse was located next to two crematoria and was called Canada, because Poles considered Canada to be a wealthy country. As for the labor content, in Auschwitz, like in hundreds of other camps located throughout Germany and occupied Europe, prisoners were forced to work in coal mines, quarries, and other construction sites outside the camps, such as digging tunnels and canals. Road clearing and debris removal from streets and alleys caused by air raids were routine tasks under the watchful eyes of armed SS guards. This large pool of forced labor was ultimately used to produce weapons and other military supplies in factories. Many German private enterprises, such as IG Farben and Bavarian Motor Works, BMW, eagerly sought prisoners as a cheap labor source. Auschwitz concentration camp continued brutal medical experiments. Men, women, and children were all subjects of experiments. For example, Nazi SS Dr. Joseph Mengele conducted inhumane experiments on dwarfs and twins, even including infants, aiming to find better treatment methods for German soldiers and pilots, as well as better sterilization methods for those deemed inferior by the Nazis. Apart from many dying during the experiments, some were killed after the research, and their organs were removed for further study, representing the extinction of humanity. Escaping from Auschwitz was nearly impossible. The camp and extermination centers were surrounded by barbed wire electric fences, with SS guards equipped with machine guns and automatic rifles in watchtowers. Prisoners' lives were entirely controlled by these people, who could inflict cruel punishments at will. These SS guards knew the weaknesses of human nature and would select some prisoners, giving them special privileges to supervise others, who would also abuse fellow prisoners, completely mastering the ugliness of human nature. Most prisoners sent to Auschwitz could only survive for a few weeks or months. Those who became seriously ill or weak to the point of being unable to work were sent to gas chambers for execution. Some prisoners chose to commit suicide by throwing themselves against the electric fence. Those who remained were like walking corpses, on the brink of physical and mental collapse. In total, over 1 million people were killed at Auschwitz, 90% of whom were Jews. Each of the 4 largest gas chambers could kill up to 2,000 people at a time. Yet, some prisoners managed to survive. Here are a few well-known survivors. Joseph Sorankiewicz, later Prime Minister and Chairman of the Council of State of Poland, who was imprisoned in Auschwitz in 1942 and liberated by the Soviets in 1945. Hungarian writer Imre Kertész, who was imprisoned in the camp in 1944 and won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2002. Italian Jewish writer and chemist Primo Michel Levi, who was imprisoned in the camp in 1944 and escaped after the camp was liberated by the Soviets in 1945. Leon Layson, a Polish-American Holocaust survivor, one of the youngest Jews saved by Oskar Schindler. His memoir, The Boy on the Wooden Box: How the Impossible Became Possible, on Schindler's List, written at the age of 80, details his experiences during the Holocaust, reminding people of the evil of war and the glory and power of humanity. Deputy Prime Minister Kaczynski of Poland criticized Germany for being too close to Russia and condemned Berlin's actions before the Russian invasion of Ukraine. In an interview with Die Welt, he said, "Germany, like France, strongly favors Russia. For years, the German government has been unwilling to face up to Russia's actions under Putin, and we see the results today." He also expressed Poland's dissatisfaction with Germany's role in Europe, condemning Germany for not providing enough weapons to Poland and refusing to at least ban imports of oil from Russia. It is important to understand that Russia earns 4 to 5 times more from selling natural gas than from selling oil. From these examples, we can understand why Poland, which detests dictatorships and communism, would voluntarily express its willingness to deploy nuclear weapons within its borders. It is nothing but a defense against Russia, which always seems to produce dictators. Only with sufficient deterrence can they dispel the idea of aggression. Let us hope that the dictators and regimes in this world disappear as soon as possible for the benefit of all mankind.